Hello,
Hi,
how are you?
I'm fine.
So today is the 20th July of 2019, and my name is Grace Bui. I'm a student in the Bachelor's of Art program with College for America at Southern New Hampshire University, and I'm conducting this interview as part of my academic work. With your consent, I will record this interview and use the information in a street interview video deliverable that I'm working on for a Contribute to Society project. So this interview will be used to create this street interview video and will be submitted to College for America so that my project can be evaluated. So this interview information will be temporarily stored in the CFA online evaluation system to which only evaluators and CFA staff have access. So do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Do you give your consent to be interviewed and recorded?
Yeah, I do.
So read this statement.
I, Olivia Dukwenda, give my informed consent to participate in this interview to be recorded and used as part of the student academic work.
Okay, so Olive, thank you so much. I'm going to ask you some few questions and answer just how you know them. So, what are the three branches of government?
I think the three branches of the government are legislative, judiciary, and executive.
Wow, that's nice. And what does each branch do?
Yeah, I think judiciary is in charge of laws, but others, I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, it's fine. And Democrats and Republicans are the major parties. Can you name a third party?
I think it's Green Party.
Yeah, it's among the third parties, but that's fine. What is the basic process by which a bill becomes a law?
A bill?
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know.
You don't know
Because
what a bill is?
I know bills in terms of money,
Okay.
so I don't know how a bill can become a law. Yeah.
So in this bill is more of a law process through which it becomes law. So it's okay if you don't know. And thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Good.
Today is the 20th July of 2018, and my name is Grace Bui. I'm a student in Bachelor's of Arts program with College for America at Southern New Hampshire University. So I'm conducting this interview as part of my academic work. With your consent, I will record this interview and use it in my project of Contribute to
Okay.
Society.
No problem.
So, do you have any questions?
Yeah.
Do you give your consent to be interviewed and recorded?
Yeah.
So read this statement.
Okay. I, Emmabre, so give my informed consent to participate in this interview and then be recorded and be used as a part of academic.
Okay, thank you, Emma. So these questions are you don't need to know them exactly, just answer me how you know them. So what are the three branches of government?
If I remember well, it's legislative, judicial, and executive.
That's good. You're right. And what does each branch do?
I believe I don't know.
You don't know. It's fine. And Democrats and Republicans are the major parties. Can you name a third party?
Yeah, the third one is Green Party.
Okay, Green Party is part of the third parties.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any other third party? What is the basic process by which a bill becomes law?
A bill. What is a bill first?
A bill is like legislation, all those that need to be approved to be conference. But it's okay.
I didn't even know that. I believe I can know how it can become.
It's okay.
Yeah.
But really, thank you for your time.
Okay. Thank you.
So, as you've seen previously, I've been conducting interviews with different people that I met in the street, and they had little knowledge about the branches of the government. So, I'm here to give you more details about that. So, there are three branches of government in the United States, and these are legislative branch, executive branch, and judicial branch. The legislative branch is in charge of proposing the laws, confirming or rejecting the presidential nominations, and also for the head of federal agencies, federal judges, and the Supreme Court, and it also has the authority to declare wars. It includes the Senate and the House of Representatives. The executive branch is in charge of carrying out and executing those laws. It also includes the president, the vice president, and the cabinet. The last branch is the judicial branch. It interprets the meaning of those laws, applies them to individual cases, and also decides which laws violate the constitutions. So it includes the Supreme Court, the federal courts, and the judicial agencies. So the question 2 was about what each branch does and how they are connected. So these branches interact through checks and balances. So the executive and the legislative branch work more closely together than the judicial branch. This is because the president suggests the laws and the executive makes those laws happen. So the judicial branch is only in charge of overturning the decisions that were made by those two branches because it's mostly not involved in the decision-making process. So how do they regulate each other through those checks and balances? First of all, those checks and balances contribute in ensuring that no branch has too much power than the other. So how they regulate each other. The president is the commander-in-chief of the military forces, but the Congress is in charge of appropriating the funds for the military and also declare wars. In addition, the Congress controls the money used to fund the executive actions. Also, the Senate confirms the nominations from the president. It's the Senate. The Senate confirms the nominations of the president. The Congress has the power to pass the bill to a law. And also, the Congress can override the regular presidential vote by a 2/3 vote of both houses. The Supreme Court and the federal courts declare wars or presidential or whether the presidential actions are unconstitutional. Lastly, the Congress checks all the decisions that are made by the Supreme Court. And the last question, the third question, was about Democrats and Republicans as the two major parties in the United States, and what is the third party. So first of all, we're going to go through how those two parties system came to be. First, it came to be when Alexander Hamilton was a Federalist Party and Thomas Jefferson was a Democratic Republican Party. So those were the only political party that existed. That was the first party system. But towards its end, the Republicans dominated under the second party system. And then later on, the Democratic and Republican Party was separated in 1824 elections. And also in 1828, Democratic Party was formed in support of Andrew Jackson, and the Republicans was formed in the support of John Quincy Adams. So what is the impact of the third parties on national politics? The third parties are mostly against the two-party systems. They are mostly against the Democrats and Republicans. And the third parties include the Libertarian Party, the Green Party, the Constitution, and the Constitution Party. So how they affect the national politics is that when the third party gains traction or is popular among the citizens, the major parties tend to lose their votes. And there are also the third parties are most of the time organized on one issue rather than seeking a broad issue that affects the whole community. And they also influence the outcomes of the elections by taking away the votes from the major political parties. So these parties are kind of not always in agreement. That's why it affects the politics, because the decisions that the third parties make are most of the time not agreed by the two party systems, which are the Democrats and the Republicans. The last question is what is the basic process through which a bill becomes a law? So here I have a chart that will help us understand how a bill becomes a law. Here we have, on the first step, a bill is born. It means that this bill is introduced by the Congress. On the second step, there is a committee action. It means that that bill is examined by the committee in order to measure its effectiveness or if it has all the qualities of a bill. And the step 3 is submittee review. This bill goes through hearings and it goes through the debates and views of executive branch experts, public officials, supporters, opponents of legislation, to weigh how much it can favor or not favor the population. Step 4, its markup, or the changes and amendments are made to that bill. The 5th step is the committee action to report a bill. This is where to report that bill, this is made to the House or the Senate. This is where the decision is made whether that bill should be voted for or not. Then on the 6th step is voting, which goes first through the debates and approval of the amendments that were described above. The 7th step is the referral to other chamber. This is another level after voting, where the bill goes through the approval or being rejected depending on the changes that were made. Step 8 is conference committee action. This is where they reach to a common agreement of that legislation. Step 9 is the final action, where the president signs that bill and it becomes a law. The president can also disagree with that bill and not make it a law. And the last step is overriding a veto. This is where, when the president does not agree and there is a 2/3 vote of the majority from the House and the Senate, this is where a bill is reconsidered to become a law. So this is all in all the steps through which a bill goes through to become a law. So that was all. Thank you very much for your attention.